اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. أما بعد، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
The other condition for Hajj is that one must be healthy enough to go. If he is suffering from ill health, and if he will not be able to bear the difficulties of travel genuinely, then he cannot go for Hajj. Such a person, the only ibadah in which the niyabat is allowed during lifetime, the only ibadat in which the niyabat is allowed during lifetime. Otherwise, niyabat of namaz and roza is not during lifetime. We can't tell people to pray on our behalf. But the only thing that is allowed is Hajj. If a man is genuinely, because of ill health, unable to go, he can send somebody to perform Hajj on his behalf. Maybe because of old age, maybe because of some other infirmities, whatever. The third condition is that the way to Hajj must be safe and secure. Say there is a wartime, or it is not secure to go there for him, for any reasons that he knows better, that if he goes there, his personal security is at stake, then such a person will not go, and for him the Hajj will not be wajib. But there is one thing, that if a person upon whom Hajj has become wajib and has never been, and there comes a time in his lifetime that he has now lost money and he's unable to go because there's no wealth now. He was wealthy when he was, and he did not go. Today he cannot pay for the expenses. Such a person must remember that Hajj remains wajib upon him. He is not exempted, because once in his life it became wajib upon him, he did not go. Now he may not have money, but that wujub, that incumbency is not removed. That means even if he can secure a loan or help from someone, he can take a loan, but he must go and fulfill that Hajj, because it became wajib once and he did not go. And finally, Hajj must be qurbatan ila Allah ta'ala. That means in the niyyah for Hajj there must not be anything else. That I'm going there, inshallah, in Jeddah, I'll find some agencies and I'll do some business, or I'll take some samples with me and sell, or bring some samples and sell, and inshallah, ham khurma, ham sawab. That means also Hajj and also business. Na dunya haath se jaye, na akhirat. That sort of thing does not work in Hajj. In Hajj, one has got to have a pure intention. Of course, if he went for Hajj, and there, if he came across some business opportunities which he secured, that does not go against the niyyah. But it goes against the niyyah if one begins with the intention that I'll go and make my ticket free and come back, inshallah, and there'll be no loss. That sort of intention is not allowed. So when this is understood, then finally, what must be understood is Hajj, as the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam has explained, and all the Aimma alayhim salam have explained, is actually being a guest of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We are visiting the places which He has asked us to visit as His guest, and therefore during the time that we are there, there is some discipline to be followed, and there is some spiritual preparation for which we must prepare ourselves before we go. We must not just go for Hajj because the qafla is going, but there must be some masail to be learned. There must be some ma'rifah, some cognition, some recognizing of the facts of Hajj, as to what is tawaf, why is sa'i, what is the meaning of taqsir, and what is the meaning of wuquf at Muna or Arafah or Muzdalifah, and finally what is the meaning of that qurbani, and when we come back, what are our responsibilities. Every place in Hajj has got a significance, and every act has got its own value. But the only thing that one must remember is that unless the underlying philosophy of any ibadah is not understood, everything becomes useless. The underlying thing is ita'ah, obedience. That is the main thing. Otherwise, what do we go to Hajj for? You just go to say that we are going in obedience to Him. There, if I have understood this, that I'm going this for the sake of obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then other questions like, why stay here? Why spend the night there? Why this and why that? All these will disappear. Because the answer to all these questions is qurbatan ilallah and ta'atan lillah. That means we are doing it in obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has asked us to wait here. In our worldly affairs, we accept all this. We go anywhere, we are told, wait here, we wait. Sit down here, sit. Before you see anyone, you have got to wait at so many places. Finally, you go and see him. The same way, Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, for example, has said that we are asked to wait at Arafah. The place of ma'rifah, not the place of fighting for the tents. Not the place for abusing each other. Not the place of asking why you drink one more glass of sharbat. It's not a place of quarreling. It's a place of recognizing Allah, ma'rifah, getting more and more knowledge and being more and more conscious of the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We stay there. And at the completion of the day, as the sun sets, you come to a place which is called Muzdalifah. Muzdalifah, if taken literally, means coming still nearer. That means now you have been into Arafah, you are one step ahead. You stay there a night. And after that you come to Muna. That means your hope and your expectation is completed when you reach Muna. Now, if we understand this, that why step by step we went, then things become understood. If we don't understand these things, then we say, but why here and why there? And we engage our attention in so many redundant things that we come back totally exasperated. And then we say, if I had known, I would have never gone. Inshallah ta'ala, we will be dealing with these later. The subject that is on the Surah Yusuf, where we are at the moment, is very sensitive. And I can understand. But what can I do? I have tried as much as possible to be very, very kind to women. But when we talk of woman here, we talk of a woman as a member of human species. We are not talking about women of our community or any particular community. We are talking of women as member of human species, humankind. And therefore, we must know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given them certain gifts. The gifts which are their problem, and in that problem lies their strength. First of all, they are highly emotional. You can never defeat a woman when she cries, can you? You can. Even if she's a liar. You see, if you have sat somewhere to decide upon a matrimonial case where a woman has come to complain against her husband, you know what happens. The moment she begins, in order to convince Mullah Fida Hussain Bhai Khaki that she is right, she will immediately start shedding tears. Now, because there is an elderly person sitting there who is well experienced, he knows that these tears are because of the emotive nature of a woman. That is her problem. And in those drops of tears lie her strength. Because if a young man sits to listen to that case, he will immediately decide in her favor. But it could not be the whole truth. It could be the half truth. In this world, pure lies never travel. They cannot travel. Pure lies can never travel. They always travel with the help of some truth. So you find that that which goes in currency is not a pure lie. It is half truth. When they mix together, then of course they go very well. So only two things can travel on earth, either pure truth or a mixture of lies and truth. Pure lies have got no feet. Well then, in that case, this is her problem, and so her strength. Third is the delicacy. Allahu Akbar. How can I describe this? I do not know. Had it in Urdu, I would have tried, but this is English. English, as it is said, is a language of understatement. So you cannot sometimes describe as much as you could in Urdu. That grace that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given, when Adam saw Hawa for the first time, he could not remember that he was Adam. And that is what happens to us. How many sons and how many young boys, when they get married, they forget their parents. They forget their parents, they forget their mothers, fathers. You see, because for the first time they have seen the daughter of Hawa. So this is what happens. that is the problem. The grace that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given. It is the same body as ours, limbs as they are, but the moment she walks, as she walks, she works qiyamah. The way she talks, the voice given is so sonorous, melodious and musical that you hear the voice and you get dissolved. The hair, the feature, the gait. There is a grace and nothing else but grace in a woman. This you must accept. And on top of that, the beauty that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have given to women folk. Now, these are problems for them in a sense, but these are also points of strength. But the most problematic, at the same time strong character of a woman is to be able to plot. Makar. To hatch a plot. Among themselves and against any power that be. It is said that if Cleopatra's nose had been only a part of an inch away, there would be no war in Egypt. Because she had a perfect nose, and because there were two parties fighting for that one woman, Cleopatra, two nations shed blood for the sake of Cleopatra. It only required slight distortion of the nose, there would have been no war. But the nose, unfortunately, was perfect. So, to be able to gossip, and in that gossip to spread that makr, this is a problem, and this is also a point of strength. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after having said, وَلَقَدْ هَمَّتْ بِهِ وَهَمَّ بِهَا لَوْلَا أَرَّآ بُرْهَانَ رَبِّهِ, says, كَذَلِكَ لِنَصْرِفَ عَنْهُ السُّوءَ وَالْفَحْشَاءَ إِنَّهُ مِنْ عِبَادِنَا الْمُخْلَصِينَ. This is how we managed to ward off that which was bad and evil, vice, and things which were of shame from Yusuf. As-su' and al-fahsha. My friends, these are the days when in the schools we are facing a problem of sex education. We in Islam have never been against sex education, but not the way it is being promulgated today. First of all, it must be understood, because I can see so many young men listening to me, most of them unmarried, and naturally sisters are listening to me. The question of human sex in Islam has always been treated with health. If it had not been treated healthily, it would not have appeared in the masail and in amaliyah, in the niyat, for as we call it. There would have been no masail of janabat or ghusl janabat or whatever. They would have just tried to put it under the carpet and say, we can't touch this. But when we teach sex in Islam, we have to tell the students that it has got to be learned healthily. Keep the mind healthy and not sick. That is one thing. And it was the duty of the parents and not the teachers alone. Madrasa teachers are obliging us. They do what we ought to have done. Otherwise, it is not the duty of the madrasa teachers. When my son has grown to the age of 14 or 13, nearing bulugh, or he can be a baligh by 13. It depends upon different ages, families, physical health of a child. I should take care immediately to sit with him and tell him the physical changes which have now taken place in him and what is the meaning of that particular physical change and how he will be able to put that physical change in him to use healthily. We don't do this. We don't do this because we feel ashamed of it. Where we ought to feel ashamed, we don't. And where we should not feel ashamed, we do. We have got to sit with him and say, son, now you are 13 or 14. Sit with me. These are the changes which are now about to take place or have taken place. And these are the feelings you get. These are new feelings. And the most powerful emotive feeling in any human being, till he dies, is the sexual drive. There is nothing more powerful than that. If you do not allow him to understand that Allah has now equipped him with that new strength which can lead him to pitfalls one after the other, if not guided, the problem will arise. And we don't tell them anything. We leave them to read magazines stealthily, surreptitiously. You see, they put on it Quran's cover, sometimes Mufati's cover. Inside there is something else. And the moment they see you, they put it under the pillow. And they're trying to read filth and trash and dirt from the magazines, from the bestseller books, you see, and try to learn the art of perversion, while we have got to guide them to the right path. We do not do this. The reason is that we feel ashamed. And the mother does not care to talk to the daughter who is now 9. At the age of 9, she is baligh in Islam. And by 11, 12, 13, she is mumayyiz. That means she can now differentiate between good and bad. And therefore, we do not even sit and talk to the girl also. There have been cases where when menstruation starts, the girl doesn't know what has begun in her life and she is suddenly shocked. The mother ought to have prepared her that this will happen and this is the meaning of it, that you are now a step towards motherhood. When you get married, you have children, inshallah ta'ala. This is the sign of your maturity. We don't tell them. This sex education was incumbent upon us. If we told them this, then there would be no evils in our society. We can ward it off. But today, we leave them at the mercy of the schools, where they are told that all those evils in Islam are actually good, including masturbation, which in Islam is haram, which the Prophet has condemned and cursed. It is a self-abuse, and it is the abuse which leads to many difficulties. Whatever the medical profession may say today, I do not say that I don't go to doctors. I do go to doctors. But I do say one thing, that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said something and the Prophet said something, I have seen during my lifetime at least, the medical profession change its opinion several times, finally coming to what the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. So many things have happened in my short life. And those of my elders might have seen more of this. Things change. People are being taken for a ride. Suddenly, and they come and say, Mullah Sahab, medical profession says this, Islam says that. And we kept quiet. And finally, after 20 years, they say, no, Mullah Sahab, that was all lies. This is right. Typical example is breastfeeding. How many magazines I have in my own personal collection where women were advised not to breastfeed. No, it creates cancer. As a child suckles, there is going to be problem. And it is against all the beauty. It spoils this and it spoils that. And we started giving them cow and gate. And now we are told, no. There is no nutritious food as good as the mother's milk. Now we don't know what to do. We were told that this is self-abuse, it is haram, it breaks the fast also, one of the things that break fast. And it is also injurious to health. We don't tell the children anything. Then we leave them to school. Now the schools have come to teach them. What do they teach them? Astaghfirullah al-Azim. If you just pick up that book, which is supposed to be teaching sex education to our children, boys and girls, just see the contents. You'll be terrified. You'll be horrified. And you will be surprised what to do. And how are we going to control? It takes only one father and mother to sit with the son or daughter and talk beforehand. And everything would be under control because the boy is now growing. He will understand, he is forewarned. But we do not do it. We cry when the government has already instituted one particular law, and now we are writing them letters after letter, and they are requesting us to say that if you have any program as an alternative, give it to us. Otherwise we will continue with the same thing. So zina, astaghfirullah al-azim, adultery or fornication or illicit relation between man and woman is fahsha. Fahsha means that of which we must be ashamed, and it leads to the greatest of sins. And before that is a su. Su means those thoughts and inclinations which finally take me to commit the vices. Allah says, we took him away from su and fahsha. That means we neither allowed him to think of it, leave aside doing it. Because when you start thinking of it, this mind of mine is just like a house, a pool of water. Ours is like that. You keep it open and start pouring in water from the dirt and from pure outlets. It all mixes. But in the mind, when dirty water and pure water mix, it is going to be a dirty water. It can't be a pure water. Now my mind here, I come to this majlis to listen to Maulanas, to listen to Quran, to listen to all those places. The dirt the purity which comes in is already mixed with the dirt that I have read in the magazines, in the books, from the media, it is all there. And then therefore it is a mixture or admixture of pure and impure. And tell me what is going to happen. The second thing finally is because I thought this was so important and we are just conniving at it, that when a child is of age, that means after bulugh and of maturity, that means between 20 and 22, let us take as an example, the parents must get their boys married. Now don't listen to those problems. Haji nano chau. Haji mara pag upar upo nathi. He is standing on his feet, but he tells you, Haji mara pag upar, I am not standing on my feet. That means I am not still earning. And things like that. All these things are correct. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِن يَكُونُوا فُقَرَاءَ يُغْنِهِمُ اللَّهُ مِنْ فَضْلِهِ وَاللَّهُ وَاسِعٌ عَلِيمٌ. Even if they are utterly poor, Allah will grant them from His grace. Get married. Get married. Because that will allow you to at least use that prowess, that natural power that Allah has given you, directed into the right path, and not get yourself away. Do not listen to what they say. Marrying at the age of 40 or 35 and saying that no, inshallah ta'ala, we get mature and get married. By the time there is a pursuit of maturity, so much of evil and so much of vice enters into our lives. The community has got to think, for our girls and boys both, to get married as early as possible. Not to say that get them married in the cradles or the childhood marriages, but at least as early as can. There must not be such delays which are going to be dangerous. It may sound to be orthodox, it may sound to be very old-type thinking, but it is a fact. The Prophet said this, especially for the girls. Get them married. Send them to their husbands' homes as soon as possible. And when you get a message, the message which comes must be decided upon 2 or 3 criteria. Is he religious? Is he healthy? And the girl has a right to see that he has no defects. I mean, that right has been given. That if she prefers that she would not like to marry to a person who is defective in his limbs, that perfection is a right to ask. But otherwise, is he religious? Don't ask, is he poor or rich? For richness and poverty remains, goes, comes back. It's all in the hands of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The person who gets married brings rizq with him together. Similarly, the girl who comes into your home brings her rizq together. And when the child is born, the child brings its rizq together. Every mouth has got to be fed. And I have given this example before. That there in Mombasa, we used to have a family where people produced profusely. You see, every family, 12, 13 children were there. Then came our time, slightly educated, slightly, not very highly, which is most dangerous, of course. See, then we then tried to argue, say these families have no sense whatsoever. See, why should they go on producing? If they can't feed, if they have problem earning, they have got to work so hard day and night, they should have controlled. And we used to discuss this everywhere, in our chambers, in our Saturday evenings, meeting, and sometimes even, God forgive us, name the family. That these families, they don't have a sense. We used to say that. Anyway, the family did not stop. It went on expanding. There came a time, during our lifetime, that those children grew up. And in that very family, every son of that family is now a millionaire. Then we met again to discuss the same family. And we said, hoy ne? Atlu bodo manpower hoy to hoy ne? Are? Bewkuf. What you used to say yesterday was a problem, suddenly became manpower. So this is how it is. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.